Pastor Howie again, giving you a daily devotional. Because of the coronavirus, my wife and I like to get out and take walks when we have spare time. We live in Hawthorne, and we were just out walking today, and lo and behold, we came across this nice little church in downtown Hackensack, so we thought we'd stop and say hi to you. No, I'm just kidding. We drove down here. Although my wife has walked home from Hackensack in the past, she loves to walk. But here we are, First Baptist in Hackensack. We're on our Hackensack campus. I thought I'd say hi to all our Hackensack family today. See how you're doing. Hope you're okay. Hope you're being safe at home. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what's going on in our world today. I've been reading a book by Max Lucado, and it's called How Happiness Happens. And I was curious, I had read it, started it, and I hadn't gotten to finish it, and I was curious as to where he was going with how happiness happens. And as I got into the book, I realized he was giving us the one another's from Scripture. And I thought, how interesting is that? Because when you turn your TV on, or when you look at your computer or your phone, one of the things you see all the time from the Madison Avenue and people that are publicizing this is that we're all in this together. We're all in this together. And I thought, wow, we are all in this together. They have a lot of construction going on in Hackensack too, so we'll see how this turns out. But you know what? We're all in this together comes right out of the New Testament. Those are all the one another's. We need each other. God knew that before the COVID-19 came along, that we would be in all this together. Even though we're alone, even though we're quarantined, we're still in this together. So I wanted to go through a little list with you. If you have a pencil and paper, you might want to jot some of these down. Maybe you can look them up later and see some of these one another's. One that Max talks about is encourage one another. That's found in 1 Thessalonians 5:11. And as I go through this list with you, you have to figure out now, how can I encourage somebody when I'm stuck in my house? You'll figure it out. Be creative. God will help you. Another one another is bear with one another. That's a tough one for me sometimes. We have to put up with one another. We have to bear with each other. Sometimes those walls are closing in on us, right? And we have to put up with each other. Here's a good one. Bear one another. Bear with one another comes from Ephesians 4:2, by the way. Greet one another. Now that's hard in the pandemic, isn't it, with coronavirus? How do we greet each other? We have to stay 6 feet apart, we wear our masks and our gloves. But again, if you're creative, write a letter, send an email, do a text. We can greet one another. You can drive by somebody's house and say hi to them. That's what Chi-Chi and I are going to do today. Pray for one another is huge. Every one of us can pray for one another. James 5:16 tells us to pray for one another. Something else that we have to do is accept one another. Romans 15:7. Maybe in this time of quietness and solitude in your homes, and as you're getting close to God and as you're slowing down a little bit, maybe there's some people you need to forgive. Perhaps you want to forgive one another. Maybe you need to write a note, an apology, and ask for forgiveness or forgive one another. Serve one another is big. That's really one of the theses, that's one of the big points of Lucado's book, is that we have to serve one another. Galatians 5:13. And when we serve one another, it's really interesting how this happens. When we get out of our own skin, when we stop with our own self-centeredness, that's when real happiness begins to happen. Isn't that cool the way that works? Do you remember that? Have you forgot about that? When we get out of our own little worlds and we start to love one another and serve one another and greet one another and forgive one another, that's when true biblical happiness begins to happen. And of course, the last one, which I just gave it away to you, was we need to love one another. 1 John chapter 3 and verse 11. God loved us first, and because he loves us, we need to love one another. So that's a great list of one another. Some reminders. I know many of you know those one another's. There's 50 of them in the New Testament. So if you don't like my list, you can go through your New Testament and you can find a bunch more. But that's how we gain happiness. I know some of you are sad. Some of you are a little discouraged with this, what's going on. If you want to be happy, we need to do the one another's. We need to practice them. We need to practice those disciplines. So stay home, stay well, and make sure that you stay very close to the Lord.